Okay. Welcome to this session of the best pandemic practices and pivots for mentoring women. We're of the metro large city areas for our conversation. I will ask our presenters to introduce themselves in 1 minute. I have received word from Chris Money, who is director of Kindway, who was scheduled to present, but I will offer some information on her behalf. Because I'm a longtime volunteer and mentor with the program that she began, and actually I see Jan Roberts is here too, so she might want to plug in. So if we could start, Vanita, if you could, is Vanita here yet?
Yes, I am. It says Tristan Brooks on my screen.
Oh, okay.
I had to change computers because mine was not picking up sound this morning.
I understand.
I am here. My name is Vanita Nevis, and I am with a program, a faith-based program called ARCH, Accompanying Returning Citizens with Hope. I am the program coordinator for for ARCH. And I primarily do what they call accompaniment, which kind of partners with mentoring. So I am that person that when someone's coming out of incarceration and they have no transportation from the bus stop, I am that person that goes to the bus stops and greets them back into the community. I am that person who gets them to their halfway house. I am that person who gets them the clothing that they don't have. I'm that person that gets them signed up for jobs and family services, gets them Medicaid, gets them their SNAP card, gets them some socks and some underwear, some toiletries, and get them acclimated back into the community. And with that comes along mentoring them back into the community.
So thank you. Where do you serve? What part of the
Franklin
state?
County, primarily.
So you're in Franklin County.
I am
Awesome.
in Columbus, yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Stacy, could you introduce yourself?
First off, Anita, you and I need to connect later. My name is Stacy Yeager. I'm part of the Greater Good Ambassadors, and I'm based out of Columbus, Ohio here. And I work with a greater collaborative to try to tie in the medical, public health, and the faith community. But my the core of where I started was working with single moms. And I had started a ministry about 6 years ago, and it ended up growing into women. And just basically working with tying in a lot of those social and physical needs to be able to help them grow spiritually as well. We also wanted to kind of create that positive, encouraging environment that they can surround themselves with as they're raising their kids. A lot of these issues, we do, I would say probably a third of them work. Their children's father is in prison. So we deal with a lot of that. And I've got a couple women that I work with as well that have re-entered. And I was actually just talking to Barbara a little bit ago. Those challenges that the women come out of incarceration into the community it's a lot more complicated than a regular single mom, just with the employment and the self-confidence things that we need to work through. So, but yeah, we will definitely connect later.
Wonderful. Barbara, would you introduce yourself and what your program is?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Let me first say that my hearing of Stacy was an issue because there were people talking. So I just want to say everyone needs to mute themselves unless they're talking to the group. Okay. All right, thanks. I'm Barb Vogt, and I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. I work with the United Methodist Church, and our church has a Life Builder mentoring group that goes into DCI. So this is a group that is organized through the ODRC in conjunction with the West Ohio Conference of the United Methodist Church. What we do is we go in to DCI with a group of women that are nearing their release date within 6 months to 12 months. We work with them for a period of 6 months. We go in twice a month and just encourage them and share the love of God and the love of Jesus. And we talk scriptures, but we also talk about what they're going to encounter when they come home, because some have been in for several years and things change, you know. And so it's difficult for those women to get back into society and to job hunt and so forth and so on. So then when they come out, we meet up with them and continue to mentor them as long as they need it or as long as they want it. So we don't really, well, we do help them with the essential clothing too. That's part of what we do. Yeah, and the toiletries and stuff.
Well, thank you, Barb.
Yes, you're welcome.
That you have kind of given me an entree into our first nitty-gritty question, in that you're a good part of your program, from what I hear, was that you were going in for 6 months times a month to visit with the ladies. So could you just talk very briefly about what kinds of adjustments you've made and how you've been able to maneuver through the pandemic quarantine time?
Sure. Well, the situation is that I had a group going in last year, and of course the 6 months was over in the fall, and then we worked with them on the outside. I still have one coming out this month, and I hope that she'll remember to get a hold of us, because we have not had any contact inside. We're not allowed to contact them unless they make us their mentor of record, which means it might push one of her family members out of her visiting group, and you know, whether that's worth it or not to them. So but then this year I had a team all prepared and ready to go in when COVID came and everything shut down. So the problem I'm having right now is that I don't have a group inside. I have a group outside, but we can't connect to anyone inside yet. So Chaplain Mosley is the one that will get the group together inside. But, you know, if we can't contact them, there's no reason to go forward at this point. We've tried to ask if we could write letters. That was denied by the ODRC. And they might be trying to get through on video, but that, I don't know. It's going to just, time will tell.
Well, thank you. Do any of the other presenters have anything to add to that? Stacy, Vanita?
So I don't have groups inside. Our program does start inside. And what we've been able to do is JPay has been awesome. Being able to JPay inmates and talk to them about what they would need and staying connected with them has been such a blessing. And one of the things that I do is when they're about to come out and they need to get me some information, I make that connection with their case manager. And what helps me,
we're in a position to do that, huh?
Yeah, the case manager, which is really helpful, is able to call me. And in most cases, the inmate is sitting right there next to them. And we can make that connection right there and then follow up once they're released. So that is
great.
a great challenge, and it's been helpful to be able to JPay them and connect with their case managers.
Awesome. And I know for some of the organizations like Kindway and the work that the volunteers do with Kindway, and it sounds like this is similar to what Barb's experiencing, is that if the programs that go inside aren't always allowed to have any contact other than through the particular program, but it sounds like you're able to connect through that means, and that's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that. So have you had some challenges in mobilizing volunteer mentors since the pandemic? And you have people that you meet with. Has that been difficult?
I've lost a lot of my volunteers, mainly because of primarily my volunteers did meet face to face, and most of my volunteers were seniors.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I've lost a lot of volunteers due to the pandemic.
How about you, Stacy?
My structure looks a little different because I'm working on the outside of systems. So, but I can tell you that as I was in the middle of connecting with a bunch of different churches and just getting some small groups within those different churches together. And our issue was just as soon as those groups were starting, the pandemic hit and the churches had closed their doors. And with single moms, it's a very, very tough group. There's a level of trust there that has to take a very long time to be built. And so one of my things I've been doing is just to be, texting people, not being using social media. I know we have a Facebook group that we try to private. So we try to shoot out encouragement. We try to shoot out, so like if we have like anything that's donated, sometimes we have people who will volunteer to donate stuff that goes on the group. Any kind of serving opportunities that do pop up that can include kids, we'll use that social media. But I have to say that social media has been our biggest way to try to stay connected. And those girls that have formed a bond before all of this had happened, they're doing a lot of face-to-face stuff still. So they're probably doing more face-to-face stuff than they did pre-COVID.
That's great.
Yeah, so definitely I would say just don't be afraid of social media.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So my sense is that we've had to adjust our expectations from mentoring. Could you say a few words about that, and then we'll go through the rest of the presenters. What kinds of adjustments have you made in your expectations from mentoring?
I don't think I've adjusted my expectations. My expectations for the women that I mentor now are not to mentor too many. Like I would say probably 5 or 6 at the most at a time. And I think really that's all we have our energy for.
Yes.
But that is my expectation, is if I'm mentoring you, who am I mentoring? And this way we're not being burned out, and just making sure that we're spreading the love, and like, who are you bringing along? So that's one thing I don't think has changed before. I do know that I would take trips with girls that, especially those that showed that they wanted to grow but didn't have the financial means to do it, or their situation was really disadvantaged. Those girls would have the first priority. But I always challenge them, who are you bringing along? But that hasn't changed much, and they're still doing a really good job with it. So
thank you. Barb, have you had you've experienced a shift in how you handle your mentoring, or how you what your expectations are? Barbara? I'm looking for Barb.
Yes, I'm sorry. I forgot to unmute. So actually, I haven't really made that many adjustments because we're not going in. I keep in touch with my group and continue to highlight certain things that I think they would be interested in, and encourage them and support them, and check to see how they're doing. And so we're pretty tight, and I know they'll still be available when the doors do open again. I know I'm going to lose one of them. They have already moved, and she was the best. I'm telling you, sorry that she's gone, but I still have about 5 others that are really awesome. So yes, I'm going to plan on that for when they open the doors again.
Thank you. Thank you. How about you, Vanita?
I actually haven't had to change any of my expectations. Like Stacy said, social media is awesome. having a phone to be able to call me and be available for them. It's been wonderful. The biggest challenge I have in the expectations is the fact that when someone's freshly out that does not have a phone, and connecting with them
Yes.
once they first get out, that's been hard, not knowing where they are, who they're with, or things of that nature. But having a phone, having social media keeps that connectivity with them.
Thank you. I see Jan Roberts is a guest. Can you, Jan is also works for Kindway. I'm wondering, Jan, if you could speak briefly about what's going on from the Kindway mentoring, volunteering process right now.
Good afternoon. Hi, Kathi. How are you doing?
Good to see you.
Yeah, it is good to see you too. And enjoyed your wonderful prayer. Just wanted to let you know that during the lunch break. We have had pretty much the same thing that I'm hearing with the other ladies that you have on your panel. We're not able to get into ORWs, so I have been contacting the case managers to stay in touch with our ladies that are inside. The Kindway program is a program that mentors inside ORW, and then out when they transition out into the community, we also follow up with them. We have a group of approximately 30 to 35 mentors right now. And Kathi Herington is one of our mentors and has done a wonderful job for us. So keeping in contact with them is basically the same. Social media, the phone. I get out and see as many of the ladies as I can, but due to the coronavirus and the issues with my husband, I have a husband that's sick, so I don't get to see as many as the ladies as I possibly could, but I do stay in contact. We have a few ladies that are getting out from prison. One of my positions with Kindway is to generate a letter that goes to the parole board. So we've had some success in getting ladies released, and it's just been kind of difficult. I stay in contact with a lot of the mentors, and there's a lot that are checking in with me because our ladies are being released. So it's the same across the board, I'm sure.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot that way.
That's okay.
So another question for all of us to consider is what are the key things that mentors can do to support reentry resilience at this time? So 3 things that mentors can do to support reentry, our returning neighbors and friends at this particular time. I would ask Vanita perhaps to start us off there.
I have a young lady that's sitting here with me, and her name is Patty Burnett, and we've worked together. She's out of Delaware, and I didn't get a chance to introduce her earlier, and she wasn't able to.
Patty.
So Patty wants to answer the question.
Okay, let's hear from you, Patty. What can mentors do to support?
Well, hello, everybody. First of all, being creative with the pandemic, things that we used to do with these before, now we need to be creative on how we can still do it, but in a different way. Being available, which is going to be key, being able to be accessible for them. A lot of them now are in different locations due to their virus and being out, and they're misplaced. And so just being there when they need us at their point. I know recently I just started letting people Facebook me so that they can reach me, which I never used to do before.
Yeah, me either.
So that availability is really important.
Yeah.
Stacy, what advice do you have for us?
You know what? I would really like to say maybe more like it's more connection maybe between, so I think definitely offline. I don't think a lot of people know about single moms groups, especially within the churches and then the reentry, if there's that support group out there. You know, sharing that information and seeing what we could do to kind of bridge that gap. Because this is not like it's not a 6-month program. This is a long journey of walking alongside these women. You know, from the time we're born until the time we die, we're always growing, right? So
Right.
we're always learning. So there's always that next step, and healing is never complete. So I would love to maybe connect with more groups of women to see how we can connect to churches. That's my biggest desire, is like, how can we, you know, work with Vanita and, you know, get these, as you got the mentors are coming through and walking these women, holding their hand and loving them through that process, getting their social needs fixed, getting their physical, and how can we connect them to a church that we can bring that long time support, and hopefully help them get their kids back, restore the families. That's my passion.
It sounds like a lot of being present as much as possible and being attentive to their needs.
Yeah.
One of the things that has come to my attention personally, but I know our Kindway folks are very tuned into this right now, about mentor self-care. Like, how do mentors protect themselves emotionally and socially, but also how do we ourselves? And so I wondered if any of our presenters had some information or advice or suggestions on our self-care is as we mentor. Stacy, you talked about having X number of mentees at one time, and it sounded like a huge number of folks to be caring about. So do you have any advice for the rest of us on how do we care for one another and for ourselves?
That's so funny, because I can tell you there's 2 books that we should always have. Number 1 is the Bible. Number 2 is Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud. Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud. Yes. Those are the 2 books that everyone in the world should ever own, because I am speaking from experience. I am telling you, it will kill you. It will kill me. We're not to be that Moses. Okay. Yeah. You know, so we're not anybody's savior. And the one thing that God has been really working through with me on is you know, we have to love us as ourselves. If we're not loving ourselves, we're just pouring out of an empty cup. And I went through a period of time where I got really disgruntled. I even went through a period of just depression. I gained like 60 pounds. And
oh my.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, you just don't even, like, you just wake up. And about 2 years ago, I started flipping through pictures of all my single moms, and, you know, we're doing all this great stuff. And I'm like, how in the heck did I put on so much weight and I look so tired? I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing this great work. And I'm like, you are killing yourself. So like, I'm going to put myself in an early grave. So what I had realized is, if I'm setting the example of self-care, then these women are going to set themselves as an example of self-care. And so they're no longer sapping out of me. They're going to be filling themselves first. And I'm only going to be part of a complement to their whatever they need to get further. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It makes very good sense. Barb, do you have anything to add?
Yes, and I would include prayer in that. But filling your own cup also helps. So that would be in finding another mission field or something, maybe a learning situation. But you got to keep, when you're giving out so much, you have to keep putting in, to fill your own cup. And that way you can be present for the ones you're working with.
That makes good sense. What's your experience been, Vanita?
So I agree with Barb. I've been doing various different ministries at my church. My church has reopened since June. We're a very small church. And one of the things that I had not been doing on a consistent basis is volunteering at our pantry. And now I go to our pantry every Saturday. And what has been helpful is a majority of the people that I have been mentoring now volunteer at the pantry with me. So not only are they getting that volunteerism, they're getting that fellowship, they're getting to talk with my pastor, they're getting to be around Christians, and they're getting prayer, they're inside the house of the Lord, and they show back up on Sundays.
Yes. Awesome.
So that's been helpful for me. And I've had to shift, to something different, and that has been wonderful for helping me to get through this.
Thank you. I know with Kindway, I'll slip back into the Kindway mode. Part of the volunteer, we call ourselves navigators. Part of our training is consists of reminders about the boundaries and the expectations, and we agree to some terms that are protective of us and of the women who are returning, in terms of how much information we share with them, how the ways that in which we interact, so that we don't put ourselves or them in compromising positions. And the reminder always that we aren't the saviors, that we have a savior, that we're to be coming alongside as friends and definitely as helpers, but not as the ones that have to make everything happen, and to put some perspective and boundary in that. It really is helpful. I'm wondering if at this point, if any of our guests have questions that you would like to share. I'm not sure. I think there's some place down here that might allow you to wave, let me know that you would like to say something.
It looks like,
raise your
they've been putting
type
messages
of thing.
in. It comes up encrypted. We're not able to see the messages. Are you? You're not able to see them either, Barb?
I'm having trouble hearing you, Vanita.
The messages are coming through encrypted because everybody is coming in from Whova. They're not into Zoom, and I think that's why.
Okay. So is there a way for us to recognize folks who might want to say something or add to the conversation?
Kathi, I was wondering, does everyone have the Zoom group chat? If you pull that up, you can see, because I just saw the book that I can't remember her name. I'm sorry. It says
that's right. I'm getting comments from Zoom and from Whova, which is fine. We've got the name of the book, and I do believe the name is Boundaries. Dr. Henry Cloud. No, it's Dr. Henry Cloud, C-L-O-U-D. And are there any other comments to this conversation that you all would have to offer in your experience as a mentor, or in maybe your experience as someone who was mentored at some time?
Can we talk since can we say something unmuted?
Yes, I see Rebecca. Oh, there was Jamie. I thought I saw Rebecca.
This is Rebecca. Hi.
Hi, Rebecca. You may speak. You can go ahead and speak.
Okay, because I was getting ready to say, can I say something?
You can say.
I don't even
Sure.
Hi, I am a part
Just get
of,
close to your microphone
oh, okay. Is this better?
so we can hear you better. Yes.
Okay. Hi, I am the recovery coordinator with the 4-7 prison ministry connected to Crossroads. And also I am a mental health specialist. So I know very well about the burnout and having to pour back into yourself. I think that some simple things that should really try to do are just simple mindfulness and grounding activities
Mhm.
when you're in between clients, or when you're not mentoring, doing some things to tune into the moment, because it is so easy to get caught up in how much you have to pour out, what you have to do, are they getting it, the ups and the downs, and the burnout. And you have to, I know I have to make efforts to do my water aerobics, my quiet time, seriously, my quiet time. And a
Yes,
meditation
indeed.
app I have is called the Happy Brain. It's helpful. It's really quick. It's free. You can do mindfulness, meditation. You can just simply do grounding, like tune into your environment, sensory activities, take something to help relieve stress or go for a walk. I mean, those simple things we cannot ignore. Our body needs those simple things, and it's easy to complicate things as far as how to pour back into yourself when nobody else is and they're pulling from you. Those are some simple things that have helped me. And prayer. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
How come she didn't show?
Because she's late.
Oops, sorry. Hi, Pam. I guess not. I thought I saw Pam come up. I want to make sure everyone has a chance to.
I had my phone on as well because it was clearer than the computer, and that made it make noise.
Okay.
Unmuted. I've been a volunteer with and an employee with Horizon Prison Initiative at ORW, and I had been the volunteer coordinator for 3 years, and then I decided I wanted to get involved with reentry stuff. But I was teaching a class, victim awareness class, and I know Horizon has not been able to have anybody go in or have waste. We had on-site coordinators, and it's a 10-month program, and they can't go in. They can't directly communicate with the participants. And so I'm wondering I think this is going to be the situation for some time to come, that they're not going to be letting people physically come in. But if ODRC has any plans to allow programs, organizations that have programs to somehow implement those virtually.
My understanding is they're working on it.
Yeah. Because I don't know that, I'm assuming that, all of the colleges that were providing, classes, anybody that's not an employee of ODRC is not going in. And I'm just thinking, there's nothing for the inmates.
They're working on ways to start opening things up a little bit, but it's still in the works. So.
Nothing yet, man. Yeah.
I think I saw Alice earlier.
Yeah, hi, thanks. I was curious how you're preparing people in the community to be welcoming to women coming out of prison. You talked a lot about preparing the women, but some communities are rather judgy, and I'm just wondering how you're helping them be better mentors.
That's right. I know in our United Methodist Conference, part of our all-in community initiative has been to go recruit churches who are willing to put some time and energy into understanding some things in the prison system, and then making a commitment to be a welcoming congregation. And so I pastored the first church that officially came on board, and Barb's church has, I don't know what kind of training you've all done, but I know that they're a congregation. So as a faith community, we start with our local congregations and do a lot of praying and teaching and modeling how do we welcome and include and support returning neighbors. Barb, did you have something to add to that?
Yes, with our girls, the two that we worked with outside, we invited them to church, and they were situated at a halfway house that was on the bus route, so they could take a bus if they wanted, or we would go pick them up, whichever was better. So, but I brought them into a Sunday school class, which I'd prepared in advance, that this is what, may I bring this gal? And so they loved her. And then the other gal just even got so involved on her own. She called the church office and asked if she could volunteer time to support whatever she had to do for service. And she also got involved with our Celebrate Recovery group. And so my church, I was just absolutely amazed, but they opened their hearts to these girls and they were so happy. In fact, I guess the Women's Society was having a special program where they created some reentry packs or some kind of service, something. And they invited other women, anybody who would want to come from the halfway house, and they each got a packet. I think it might have been a backpack and some other good things inside, but they were really happy about that and sat and talked with them. One at her table, and they had questions about God and some serious stuff, and so our women were just pleased as punch. That was great. It was
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I appreciate, that's a good way to hear. And Alice, I'm hearing too, maybe even beyond our churches, how do we work within our communities?
Mm-hmm.
If anybody has experience in that, other than, I know our churches are a first line, but how do we go into the community to prepare our communities?
I believe it is through the churches. Like you said, it's the first line. I mean, if the churches are not stepping up, who's going to step up? Most of your community centers are closed. And this morning on the group that we had, the circle, Bishop was saying, by his church being closed, it gave him the opportunity to go out into the community, which he otherwise did not do because of the church being open. So even though church is the first place, but it's also allowed the churches that are closed to go out into the community, to bring the community in and let them know what's going on. And while I'm talking, I would like to talk about a program that was brought to my attention through United Methodist Church called the Hope Letters.
Yes, thank you.
Arch just got approved through Reba and Mike Davis. We were going to be going into ORW and start the Hope Letters, and we're also going to be going into Noble. And for those of you who don't know what Hope Letters are, it's a sense of the church coming together as a support group, and they get individual names of inmates at a particular institution, and then this group writes to the inmates individually, to the individual inmate, but as a group. So not only is it the church being brought together as a group, but they're also writing to inmates, especially those that don't have family or friends writing to them, or those that now have people who cannot come in to see them. So I am so glad that Arch has got approved the Hope Letters. If you ladies want to add anything else to that.
Thank you, that is awesome. I know that some of the official programs that we go through, we don't always have we're not allowed to write to the inmates if we're involved in mentoring or whatever. But I love that the Hope letters, because they're a particular type of letter. Folks are trained in that, and they're done as a group, so that it's a group of folks, not just individual people writing letters, that it's a group effort. One of the things I did in terms of broadening our welcome into the community was to meet with the police chief and find out how they were caring for or aware of returned citizens, and to make sure that the police knew that the church was involved in welcoming returning neighbors, and so they would be aware, and that we would work together to make the community aware. And so that turned out to be a really positive connection between the church and the police. So for whatever that's worth, some communities are way too large for that to be helpful, but the last community I served in was a 5-mile radius, 5-mile area community. So the police chief knew everything that was going on. So it was helpful to do that.
Another community activity you can do is going to the homeless shelters. The homeless shelters are always in need of volunteers, always in need of products for the people in the homeless shelter. One of the biggest things that I've seen is they've been releasing people out of incarceration, and the majority of these people have nowhere to go. I've had several people that I'm working with and mentoring that literally had to sleep in the streets for several days before they actually got into the shelters.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage people to go to your local shelters to see what needs they have.
Thank you.
I also have one too. Being that we're under this virus and all of our things, well, my job's been changed and then I'm now out of a job, but finding other people that need the support that may have not gotten it prior because they're smaller. There is a group that's called Flora's Dream Homeless Outreach in Columbus. And it's a group of people that get together and they go to all the food boxes and they stock them up. And then they also pack up about 50 lunches of all kinds and snacks and stuff. And they go and pass them out through the homeless down through that area and stuff. So
that's great.
Yeah, I'd help them with that. That's something I didn't used to do. And then also in Delaware, we have a women's house that most people are not aware of. It houses 10 women. It's not a sober house. It's women that are basically maybe distressed, either going through a divorce or something like that. That once this virus hit, nobody remembered that they are existing and they weren't able to go out and get the things that they needed. So the donations were really huge for them. They don't have cars, they don't have money. So it was really, those are two things that I've gotten involved in.
Vanita's friend. I'm sorry, I don't know. I was like, I'll just call you Vanita's friend. What was that name?
Kathi.
I was gonna type it into the chat. What is it, Floors?
Thank you.
FLEURS apostrophe S, sorry. Flora's Homeless Outreach.
Flora's. Okay.
She's going to put it in the chat there.
Okay, and can kids be part of, because part of our single moms, our goal is to do service projects with the kids. If we can get the kids to learn how to serve and feel like empowered, I feel like it's a better way to try to get them to.
Absolutely. So like something for the kids to do as a project is like, they do several different things for these guys when they pack up 50 to 80 that they do. They get a meal and snacks for the whole day. So
Okay.
Some of the things I do is I may pack up 50 baggies of cookies or 50 baggies of crackers. Kids can sit down and do that kind of stuff. Go into the boxes. Once they start seeing people put stuff in there, that's pretty exciting, I think, as a kid, to be a part of something like that. But they're also not put in direct contact. So it's another good, positive thing, but not necessarily getting them engaged. The group that goes out usually takes it out of the back of their car, and then they know now where a lot of these people basically stay, and then they locate them and they go ahead and drop things off for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So our time is getting close. So I have one last question for our presenters. If you could say one thing that we need to keep in front of us as we are mentoring reentering women. One thing that we need to keep in front of us as we are mentoring women coming out of prison into this COVID aware community.
Well, just one? I got
I know,
several.
I was like, what?
Hope, faith, prayer.
What do we need to keep in front of us? Number one, the greatest of these. Good point. Good point. Hope, faith, love, prayer,
Availability.
availability.
For me, I would say, what's the next step? There's always a next step.
I'm putting this down here. I can't spell availability here. There we go.
The bottom line is success.
Barb, what do you have to offer?
You put yourself back on mute.
Okay, sorry. I think really the most important thing is to keep the channels open, the relationship with Christ, and listen to the Spirit lead you into what he wants, and what, be vulnerable so that your mentee can be vulnerable too. And so you stay on the same page. Keep those relationships continued.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Jan?
Jan,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead. What one thing would you add to this?
I think that all of this, everything that everyone has said is definitely on point, and also just to keep a relationship with the ladies, staying in contact with them, being available for them, giving them an opportunity to spend time with you as you worship, not just sending them to a church, but, taking them there, meeting them there, giving them the ability to have, the love of Christ in their life, as well as the love of us. And his love is better than ours. So it's better to have them there. So I think as long as we're showing them that we not only love them, but we love the Lord, they'll open up and they'll keep in contact with us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. One last call for any comments or questions before we close. If you will, allow me to offer a departing prayer. Most holy God, we give you thanks this day for the opportunity to share with one another our love for you and your love for us, and our love for your returning citizens and neighbors. God, grant to us wisdom and discernment as we continue to be involved with one another, to be caring for the needs of our friends who have been released. Give us all the resources that we need. Help us to include others in our list of resources, and help us always to keep our eyes on you, because you are the reason that we are here and that we are serving. In the name of Jesus the Christ, I pray. Amen. So I'm told you can leave the meeting, but